Hello, welcome to our webinar on Epygi's implementation of private IP addresses via the reverse proxy server. Today, we'll cover how Epygi achieves private IP environments with its cloud QXs. As you know, building devices with public IP addresses are easier to accomplish, but they add to overall hosting costs. The use of private IP addresses is the way to go. We recommend using VMware ESXi to host the reverse proxy server, as well as your future ECQX cloud instances. Epygi does not use a commercial reverse proxy server. Instead, we use a server for the reverse proxy that is installed and maintained by Epygi. First, we install an Ubuntu server and then configure it as a router. We then set up a NGINX reverse proxy server on the same to provide the routing and reverse proxy functions. The network topology looks like this. We will cover the following today. We will create the Ubuntu server on VMware as an ESXi virtual instance. We will create the virtual router on this server. We will install the reverse proxy function on the server. Next will be the SSL certificate installation on it. We will forward the ports SIP, RTP, TLS, OpenVPN on it. Finally, we'll create a sample virtual instance, ECQX. Creating the virtual router. We download the Ubuntu server from the official Ubuntu webpage. We log into VMware via vCenter or vSphere client, whichever is being used. And our example here is on vCenter. Upload the Ubuntu ISO file into the data store volume being used for installation as shown here. We create a new virtual machine on the physical host and name it. Following that, the system resource allocation is done as follows. We select the storage unit where the ISO file is located at. Select the ESXi 5.5 and later option. We recommend this. Select the guest OS family, which is Linux, and guest OS version, Ubuntu Linux 64-bit. Select the ISO file in the new CD/DVD drive field. Assign 1 unit of CPU, 2 gigs of memory, 30 gigs of disk space. Select 2 network interfaces, one for internal and one for external. Both are to be assigned to the router. We make sure to select all the 3 check marks on the right side. Next, the summary window will come up. If everything looks good, click Finish to proceed. Otherwise, go back and make changes and finish. The new instance is now created. Here is where 1 unit of CPU, 2 gigs of memory, 30 gigs of disk space, as well as the network adapters and the source ISO file are specified. By the way, the selection of the second interface is done via the Add New Device button, top right of the picture. The 3 check marks are on the right side. On the newly installed device, right-click to power it on. and follow the instructions on the screen to complete the installation. Proceed with the installation of the Ubuntu on the server and give IP addresses to both interfaces when prompted, as seen below. The two interfaces. Logging in as super user and installing the following packages using the command sudo apt install. The yum package, mc package, nginx package, Python certbox nginx package, and certbox package. Finally, we enable the firewall. Sudo ufw enable. We enable forwarding packages from WAN to LAN by editing etc ufw sysctl.conf as shown. And we remove the hash mark in front of the line shown. The router/reverse proxy server is now ready to use. Building a simple ECQX instance. We proceed back to VMware server and create another virtual instance. We pretty much repeat the steps taken previously for the installation of the router instance with the below differences. This time, upload the Epygi ISO file into the data store volume to be used for installation. We select create the new virtual machine on the physical host and name it. Select the storage unit where the ISO file is located at. Select the EXXI 5.5 and later option, our recommended option. Select the guest OS family, other, guest OS version, other 32-bit, guest OS name, leave that blank. Select the Epygi ISO file in the new CD/DVD drive field. Make sure to check the connect box. Assign 1 unit of CPU from the pull-down menu to the left of the CPU field. Enter a reservation of 750 megahertz and a limit of unlimited. Assign 1024 megs of memory, 20 gigs of disk space. For new network, click on the left from the pull-down menu to select the E1000 for the adapter type. Make sure to check the connect box. For the new CD/DVD drive field, check on the left to select the data store ISO file. Click on the Browse button and select the ISO image file. Make sure to select the Connect at Power checkbox. Next, the summary window will come up. If everything looks good, click Finish to proceed. Otherwise, go back and make changes and finish. These are the selected specs. The new instance is now created. On the newly installed instance, right-click to power it on and follow the instructions on the screen to complete the installation. Type in 1, set network parameters, and enter ECQX's IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway. After completing that, type in 2, install now, to start the installation. The installed packages will scroll down on the screen. After the installation is completed, Press Enter to shut down the virtual machine. The ECQX and the router instances are now listed on VMware when you look at the listing. Setting up NGINX. Log in as superuser on the router server and kick off the command apt-get install NGINX to download the NGINX package. Navigate to the NGINX configuration file and open it. Replace the site-enabled line with the site-available one, as illustrated in the picture below. The site-enabled line here. Navigate to the site-available directory and delete the default.conf file and create the server.conf file as shown here. Open the server.conf file and set the parameters as shown below. Configuration of the DNS server. Set the DNS name of the ECQX in your DNS server by entering the router's, in other words, the reverse proxy server's, public IP address. Below is a provider-specific example. We log into www.noip.com, go to the My Services and then DNS Records page. Click the Create Hostname button. Enter the hostname of the ECQX in the hostname field. Select the domain from the drop-down list. Enter the public IP address of the router. Click the Add Hostname button to add the new record. How to install the SSL certificates. Run the certbot command as shown here. Note that at the first generation, the SSL, the system asks for an email address. In consecutive generations, it will not. Next, the system asks to redirect HTTP to HTTPS. Choose the option 2. If the SSL certificate installation runs fine, you will see the congratulations line. You will notice the two lines in the server.conf file, SSL certificate and SSL certificate key, as shown here. Forwarding the SIP, RTP, TLS, OpenVPN ports. In the following example, the SIP UDP, SIP TCP, SIP TLS, OpenVPN port, as well as the RTP port range are assigned to the IP address of 10.0.0.2 using the shown command line directives. Please note that if a SIP port other than the default port 5060 is being used, that port should be forwarded instead. These are the IP tables commands for SIP, UDP, SIP TCP, SIP TLS. And OpenVPN ports and the RTP port range. Lastly, the following command makes the above settings permanent by saving them. How to configure IP phones. Please access Epygi's support portal to download the guides for both methods of IP phone configuration. Configuration through the program. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for joining. Please do not hesitate to contact Epygi for questions and comments.